Well, happy Sunday, everybody. It's time for the weekend video. Get ready. Well, today I want to talk about the return of Christ and why it's important. I have family members, even some acquaintances or friends, who talk about what they call the second coming of Christ. And they talk about Jesus coming back. And I see people posting on social media about Jesus is coming back and it's going to be soon. And so I think it's important to find out what Jesus said about it and why it's important. See, in John chapter 14, Jesus talked about how he came from the Father. And then in a little while, they wouldn't see him because he goes to his Father. And then in a little while, they would see him again. And he's talked about that in chapter 14 and again in 16. And but they didn't understand, and he explained it to them some more in chapter 16. Said, hey, I came from the Father and I'm going back to the Father. And so but he also said that then they would see him again. And so at least we've established here Jesus said he came from the Father. So when did he come the first time? When he was born. Okay. When did he return? Or when is his second coming? The only thing that was important to Jesus was coming back from the dead. That was his second coming, was coming back from the dead. And that was the most important part about it, because then the cross was fulfilled. Sin was destroyed in his death, and we were raised to life in his resurrection, a new creature. And in chapter 20, after he's raised from the dead, Mary Magdalene is at the tomb, and she's weeping because his body's not in the tomb. And then all of a sudden, she sees Jesus, and she goes to embrace him, to hug him, kiss him, something. And he says, don't touch me right now because I haven't gone to the Father yet. But go and tell my brothers, which is the first time he called the disciples brothers. See, before the cross, he said, I used to call you my disciples, now I call you my friends. But after he raised from the dead, he no longer called them friends, he called them his brothers. So, just a little side note there. But he says, go and tell my brothers that I'm going to my God and their God, to my Father and their Father. And so she runs and tells them. And then later, Jesus himself appears to them. And they're all touching him and sticking their fingers in his wounds and all that stuff. So if Mary couldn't touch him because he hadn't yet gone to the Father, that means Jesus left again, went to the Father, and then came back. So that technically is his third coming. And if you think about it, when Jesus met Paul on the road to Damascus and Paul saw him and lost his vision and everything, technically that's possibly a fourth time. But it's really not important here or there. The importance is Jesus had something important that he needed to return, and the time of his return was important to him before he left, and it was his return from the dead. That was the important thing, because his return from the dead finished his work as the Messiah, as the Savior. And that was the only importance. There is no second coming to come yet. There is nothing left for Jesus to finish. He finished it in the work of the cross 2,000 years ago. It's revolutionary, I know. Have a revolutionary week.